Alright, let's dive into this, because what's happening in Ukraine right now is not just another headline. It's a stark reminder of how complex and brutal this conflict has become. So here's the deal. Russian missile and drone strikes hit Kyiv and its surrounding areas, killing 17 people and wounding 44. And yeah, that's devastating, but what's really striking to me is the why behind these targets. Zelenskyy says they hit a brewing company, a construction warehouse, and a mail sorting office, places that, on the surface, seem completely unrelated to the war. But here's where it gets interesting. Russia claims these businesses have ties to the military. Personally, I think this is a classic case of you say tomato, I say military asset. It's a gray area that raises a deeper question. How do we define legitimate targets in modern warfare? And more importantly, who gets to decide? What makes this really fascinating and frankly alarming is the timing and the strategy. These strikes are part of a near-routine barrage that's been ramping up this summer. Why now? Well, Ukraine's running low on interceptor missiles for its Patriot systems, the only defense they've got against ballistic missiles. Zelensky's been pleading for more, but supplies are scarce, partly because of the Iran conflict. Here's where it gets personal. Zelenskyy straight up says delays in these supplies are costing lives. And you know what? He's right. This isn't just about politics or logistics, it's about people. It's about Mikhailo, the warehouse worker who had to evacuate in the middle of the night, or Ivan, the truck driver who barely escaped with his life. These aren't just numbers, they're stories. Now let's talk about Ukraine's response, because it's not sitting idle. They've been hitting back with long-range drones, targeting Russian logistics and even oil refineries. Why? To pressure Putin into negotiations. But here's the kicker. Putin's not budging. And while Ukraine's strikes might seem like a desperate move, they're also a calculated one. They're not just hitting military targets. They're going after places like Wildberries warehouses, Russia's biggest online retailer. Why? Because it's a 2-for-1. It disrupts supply chains that could support the military, and it sends a message to the Russian public. In my opinion, this is Ukraine's way of saying, we're not going down without a fight. But here's the broader perspective. This war of attrition has entered a new phase. It's not just about front lines anymore, it's about infrastructure, logistics, and the psychological toll on both sides. Russia claims it's hitting military-related targets, but Ukraine says it's indiscriminate. And honestly, that's the nature of modern warfare. It's messy, it's ambiguous, and it's devastating for civilians. One thing that immediately stands out is how both sides are framing their actions. Russia says it's targeting dual-use facilities, while Ukraine calls it a senseless attack on civilians. What this really suggests is that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and it's getting lost in the fog of war. What many people don't realize is how this conflict is being fought on multiple levels. It's not just boots on the ground or tanks in the field, it's drones, missiles, and even postal sorting centers. Take Nova Poshta, Ukraine's largest private postal operator. Russia claims it was storing drone components. Ukraine says it was just a sorting center. Who's right? Honestly, it doesn't matter because the damage is done. And that's the tragedy of it all. This raises a deeper question. How do we hold anyone accountable when the lines between civilian and military targets are so blurred? If you take a step back and think about it, this conflict is a microcosm of modern warfare. It's about technology, resources, and the human cost. It's about companies like Epicenter, which lost decades of work in minutes, and employees who lost their lives. It's about the global implications of delayed aid and the geopolitical chess game between Russia, Ukraine, and the West. Personally, I think this is a wake-up call. We can't just watch from the sidelines. This war is reshaping the world order, and its consequences will be felt for generations. So here's my closing thought. This isn't just Ukraine's fight. It's a fight about sovereignty, about the rules of war, and about what we're willing to tolerate as a global community. What's happening in Kyiv isn't just a tragedy, it's a mirror. And the question is, what do we see when we look into it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation we all need to be having.